Hi, good day, everybody. This is a CMA presentation for Realm. Realm has updated its CMA recently. It's still, I believe, not as good as the Stratus CMA, but they've taken a lot of steps towards making it better. So step one that we're going to do is we are going to just talk about CMAs in general. And step two, we'll dive right into Realm to show you how it works. So we're going to talk about the basics of appraisals, what's in a CMA, Realm training videos and where to find them. What about previous listings? What about statistics? And what about your final CMA? We're going to talk about quite a bit more. This is just a quick overview of what we are going to cover. The first thing I want to point out to you is the RICO Code of Ethics, Section 6, providing of opinions. 1. A registrant shall demonstrate reasonable knowledge, skill, judgment, and competence in providing opinions, advice, or information to any person in respect of trade in real estate. Specifically, a brokerage shall not provide an opinion or advice about the value of real estate to any person unless the opinion or advice is provided on behalf of the brokerage by a broker or salesperson who has the education or experience related to the valuation of real estate. In other words, you can't just go out there and blurt out a number to a prospective seller or a potential buyer about the value that the house is worth unless you have some education and experience in doing so. So watching this video would certainly be a good step towards gaining that education. Of course, doing some real live CMAs is probably a good idea. Of course, before you actually do a CMA, you should probably think about practicing on maybe your own house so that you start to get the experience on how to do this so that you can give proper advice to buyers and sellers. It's part of the RICO Code of Ethics that you have that knowledge. So the basics of appraisals. This is where so many people get caught up on. There's a difference between subjective and objective. Objective opinions are based on facts. Subjective opinions are not based on facts. Personal opinions do not count. I often ask a question, what's better, a 3-bedroom home or a 4-bedroom home? And most of the time people say a 4-bedroom home. But why is that? Most of the time a 4-bedroom home is bigger than a 3-bedroom home, and that would be based on facts. But subjectively, if you have the same square footage house and one house has 3 bedrooms in it and one house has 4 bedrooms in it, same square footage, now it's subjective. Some people don't need 4 bedrooms. Some people do need 4 bedrooms. Some people would like to turn a 4th bedroom into a den. Some people really want to have their 3 bedrooms bigger than the 4 bedrooms. So it does become subjective. Many times, I think most of us were taught in school that one of the big subjective valuations is a swimming pool. Swimming pools can be subjective. Some people want them, some people don't. Now, during COVID, maybe it got a little more objective because a lot of people wanted to stay at home and they bought houses with swimming pools. But in general terms, it is subjective. So you don't want to get your personal opinion involved in the value of the house. You have to base the value of the house on facts. Knowledge, physical inspections of homes in the area, physical inspection of the subject property. I can't believe the number of times that I have talked to people that are trying to figure out a value of a house that they have never been in. For goodness sake, you have to go into the house to see what kind of quality the finishes are inside the house. Physical inspections of homes in the area. You know, this can be difficult to do, physical inspections of homes in the area. But as a realtor, you should be looking at homes all the time, either with or without buyers. I certainly recommend that you go look at homes so that you learn the general values of homes in each area. You could get really caught out on this one, that you go to a seller and you say to the seller, oh, I've used this house here as a comparison, and the seller says, that piece of junk, why are you using that house as a comparison to my beautiful house? The seller knows the homes in the area. You don't. And what you've done is you've depended on pictures in the MLS to determine the value of a potential listing. And you know what? As a realtor, I could take 20 or 30 beautiful pictures of a terrible house. I could also take 20 or 30 terrible pictures of a beautiful house, and you might miss the one that really does compare favorably to the subject property. So at all times, physical inspections of homes in the area and physical inspection of the subject property will give you a much more accurate CMA. And it's also what you should be doing is you should be inspecting houses. Knowledge, what's happening in the real estate market? Are values going up, down, or remaining the same? Why is this important? It's important to know what's happening in the real estate market so that when you are looking at previous sales, you know whether to adjust for pricing going up or down. Plus, when you're having a conversation with the seller, once you have your CMA done, you can really talk, intelligently about what's happening in the market. The real estate market is pretty general. I would suggest that if you do talk to a seller about the market, that you have done your homework properly for that particular area. I think a lot of people do understand that in the GTA, one area could be going up in value and another area could be going down, another area could be staying flat. So you do have to kind of keep track of what's happening in the real estate market, of course. Chattels. Chattels in almost all cases do not count. We're generally not adjusting in an appraisal for things like a fridge, stove, washer, dryer. It's just, it's just not worth it to do it. They're relatively small values unless there's something really significant. If you're selling a cottage, for example, the cottage might come with a boat. That might make a big difference in terms of a chattel. Sometimes some homes have absolutely some fantastic appliances, and I'm talking about fridges in the $10,000 to $15,000 range, and 6-burner gas stoves that are also in the $10,000 range. You'd have to get up into that area before you'd even take a look at thinking about adjusting for appliances. So in most cases, chattels don't count. Sometimes you might get a fully furnished home. How do you place the value on used furniture? The seller always remembers what they paid for it. The buyers always think that it's used furniture and it isn't worth anything. So you do have to be really careful when it comes to chattels. Try to avoid chattels for sure. Once again, bedrooms and washrooms, these are subjective. Is a 3 or 4 bedroom house worth more or less? So you do have to keep in mind what you should be looking at when it comes to bedrooms and washrooms is square footage. Time, the basics of appraisals. You can adjust for time by simply going to MarketWatch. MarketWatch certainly has all the values going back for years and years and years, or you can use the HPI tool in TREB. Now, at the moment, the HPI tool is not in Realm. There's a direct link to the HPI tool from Realm to get into MarketWatch and get into TREB and find the HPI tool. And that just certainly helps. This is not a lesson on how to use the HPI tool. It is in the market statistics section of TREB, and it can adjust for time very simply. But just in case, should the HPI tool not show up in Realm, here is how you figure out when prices are falling, the difference in the value. And so I'll give this one moment on the slide. If you want to take a quick picture of this, you can. The next slide is when prices are rising and how to calculate that. There's also a video that I have done. It's on the YouTube training channel for the adjustments in time that you could watch so that you could really learn about it. But this is basically how it's done. Give it 1 second here if you want to take a picture of this. just in case the HPI tool doesn't get over to Realm when they finally do have Realm, you might want to know this when prices are falling. Here it is when prices are rising. And once again, you can look this up on the HPI tool, but if the HPI tool doesn't go over to Stratus, then, doesn't go over to Realm, then you are going to have to know how to do this manually. And you can find this from Market Watch and how long ago and what the difference in prices were. So this is when prices are rising. The previous slide were when prices were falling. The basics of appraisals. Square footage. Square footage is objective. All other things being equal, a larger house is worth more. It's quite simple. Makes sense, right? There are 5 big items that perhaps you should consider adjusting for. The 5 big items are location, 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 and location, of course. You want to try to get comparable houses to your subject property in the same location. Square footage. Square footage is something that you have to adjust for. A garage is very common to be adjusted for. A finished basement and overall finish. If there was one more big item on this list, it would be lot frontage that you may want to adjust for if there's a big difference in lot frontage. Square footage is really the one that catches most people off guard. In square footage, the MLS system, it's not a requirement to put the square footage of the house down on the MLS system. And so you could have, for example, if it was really good, you could have a house that's 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. You know, what it shows on the MLS system. The problem with that is that house 1,501 square feet, or is it 1,999 square feet, 1,999 square feet? The problem, of course, there is that you basically have a 25% difference in the price, of the size. And I think if I can make a recommendation, if you want to do a proper CMA, if the MLS listing does not have the exact square footage, then you need to buy the square footage of your subject property and the 3 comparables that you should use. I know it's $20, $5 for each one to get the floor area report from Geo Warehouse from Property Line. But it's $20, you get an automatic receipt, and so it's tax deductible. So it's not probably $20 that you're spending, it's probably only $12 or $13 that you're spending after taxes. So it's not the end of the world to purchase square footage so that you can do a proper CMA. Nothing would be worse than if you had a house that was 1,999 square feet, and guess what? You're using comparables that say 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, but they're all 1,501 square feet. You're making a huge mistake by not adjusting for square footage. So once again, to square footage, buy the $5 floor area report for your subject property and your comparables. So now that you have the square footage of your properties, how do you adjust for square footage? It's difficult depending on housing types, but in general terms, you adjust for square footage, you adjust for $150 for a house that's in sort of below average quality. You adjust for $200 for average quality, and you adjust for $250 for above average quality. Now, someone's going to think, well, wait a second, it costs $350 or $300 or sometimes even $400 a square foot to build a house. When I have a difference in square footage, how come I'm not adding in those costs that it costs to build? The reason why is in the cost to build, you have profit for the builder. You also have all the infrastructure being included in that cost to build. The infrastructure could be water, sewers, underground fiber cables. What about hydro? What about a driveway that's already in? So you can't use the full building cost to adjust for square footage. It has to be reduced, and it is reduced by the amount, about the quality of finish. So about 150, 200, 250 will adjust for square footage, okay? So do keep that in mind. It's really, really, really important that you adjust properly and that you are making intelligent, objective decisions on your CMA. So the basics of CMA. The rule is you always work to the subject property. The comparable is adjusted to equal the subject property. If the subject property has a double car garage and the comparable has a single car garage, you're going to add the value of another garage to the comparable so that it equals the subject property. If the comparable feature is better, you subtract the value of that feature from the comp. If the comparable feature is worse, you add the dollar value of that feature to the comparable property. Please keep that in mind. People make this mistake on a regular basis. So once again, if your subject property, this example, if your subject property has a single car garage and your comparable property has a double car garage, you would have to take away the value of one garage so that it equals the subject property. Remember, if the comparable feature is better, you have to subtract. If the comparable feature is worse, you have to add the value of the feature to that comp. Next steps in Realm. We're going to go to Realm. We're going to go to the waffle, which is the 9 dots. There's training webinars. I'll show you where that is. The classic CMA takes you back to TREB CMA. And the top CMA, do not use, cost money, and it is not good. We're going to see all of those examples in just a moment. Previous listings. People love to use previous listings. How do you know that the information provided from a previous listing is correct? Be careful, please. If you're using a previous listing for data, how do you know that the listing agent that published that data wasn't an idiot and has published stuff all wrong? Do your own research. Please don't take shortcuts. Practice makes perfect, you guys. Practice on your own house. When you have a value, ask yourself, does it make sense? If you're putting a value in, let's go back to the garages as an example. If you're adjusting for $200,000 for a garage, does that make sense? Probably not. You can figure out how much a garage costs. You can go to Home Depot and get a brochure on how much a garage costs. And so pretty straightforward. Has to make sense when you're doing an adjustment. Have a manager proofread your CMA. Nothing wrong with it at all to have your manager proofread. Make your CMA stand out. Don't be the same as everybody else. And of course, present it to the seller. I know that sounds funny that I'd have number 5 in there, present to the seller, but believe it or not, agents have asked me, do I actually give the CMA to the seller? Yes, you actually do give the CMA to the seller. That's the whole idea. And so make sure that you put it in a nice binder or you PDF'd it to them while you're sitting there with them or something. But of course, you're going to give it to the seller. Okay. And so just let me escape out of here and we're going to go to Realm. Just one moment. And here we are in Realm. So you can either have Realm as an app yourself or you can access it through Stratus on the home page. Either way, this is where you end up in Realm when you first log in to Realm. Okay, this is your dashboard. Your dashboard is right here if you want it to go there. Okay, you have all sorts of other things here that we're not going to talk about very much anyways, because that's different lessons. This is not part of moving around Realm so much as this is part of a CMA. So a CMA in Realm, like we said on the previous slide, the 9 dots, the waffle here. Going to open that up. And you can see here in the 9 dots that you have a classic CMA. The classic CMA takes you right back into Stratus. The top CMA. The top CMA costs money, as I mentioned, and I highly recommend that you don't do it. It just simply doesn't work very well. You can't do any adjustments in it, and why pay when you get something for free? I do think that the classic CMA that you have in Stratus right now, like I said before, is probably, actually, it's not probably, it is better than the Realm CMA. So hopefully we can just do the Realm CMA and they get some more of the features from the classic CMA. There's also some rumors out there that when Stratus kind of disappears and you have to go to Realm first, that it might be a bit of a hybrid system and we may still have access to the classic CMA. But eventually that is going to end. No question about that at all. And you're going to be stuck with using the Realm CMA. So the Realm CMA is right here. And let's have a look at it. We're going to open it up here and create or select a CMA to begin. So we're going to start with an address. You can put in an MLS number if you have one, but I'm just going to put in an address here. And you can see things start to pop up. And sorry, I got to just stop here. And 84 Knight Street is what I want to do a CMA for. Okay. And I'm going to create it. Now from here, you can see here that in this case here, I did not select from an MLS. I did this on purpose so that you can see that there's no picture of 84 Knight Street. The reason I wanted to show you this is because 84 Knight Street never made it to MLS, okay? It never got there. And so I know that it's sold. And so I just wanted to show you that you can pick houses that have never been on MLS. As long as it's in the land registry office, you're going to be able to do a CMA on the property. You can see the list price here is blank. We have to come back at the very end of the process and enter what we feel is the list price for this property. Additional subject property remarks, you can write just about anything you want in here. Nice home in a great neighborhood. Whatever you want to write that might impress your seller. 5 years old. Without a finished basement, that kind of thing. You know, you can basically write whatever you want to do in here, just so that there's some notes for the subject property, so that the seller can see it. And then, of course, what do we want to do? Either here or here, both buttons take you to the same place, is comparables. So in comparables, please select an action above to add comparables. So you click the down arrow here, and here we have choices. We can delete the CMA. We don't want to do that. We can delete all comparables. Well, we don't have any to delete yet. We can share. This is where you can email the CMA to a seller. You can email it to yourself so that you can print it out. Suggest comparables, add from a saved search, add from a saved list, add listings, okay? So adding from a saved list and adding from a saved search, up here, you can see saved in searches. If you have something that you want to use that is saved, you can go into here and use it. I'm not going to show you that feature because that's a whole feature on teaching you how to save a search. And that's not what this course is for. And anyways, I doubt very much that you're going to have saved stuff, that saved listings that you're going to use into a CMA. Someone's going to call you. They're going to say, I want to know the value of my house. You're going to look at that house. You're going to pick some listings out of MLS that you know, and you're going to add those listings. And the easiest way to do this is to simply add listings. And when you add listings, you can add listings by address or MLS. So we're going to add a listing. 86 Knight Street. So that's a good one. It's sold next door to the subject property. So we're going to add that one. There it is. And then we're going to go here again and add listings. And we also know 2 MLS numbers, and just bear with me while I type these in. Here we go. And we're going to put in another MLS listing. There's another one. And we're going to add these as well. Now I've done my homework on these listings, and you should have done your homework as well for these listings. You should have either been in these houses, you know these houses, maybe you sold one of these houses and the seller next door is calling you because they see your for sale sign. But you can see that, I've done my homework on here. Now I have picked a few that are quite different in pricing, as you can see, $9.99, $6.45, and $7.11, because I want to show you how to do the adjustments for these houses. Okay. So the first one here is 86 Knight Street. It's right beside the subject property. And here beside the price, you have a pen. Each one has one. And you click on the pen and it starts to allow you to do an adjustment. Okay. So this particular one, I'm going to make an adjustment that says sold in February of 2022. And we're now in February of 2023 when this video is being created. How do you do an adjustment? You click the down arrow and it has add a field, and they've added these different fields to make changes to the price. Now, what they don't have in here is time of sale. So you have to click on custom. Okay. And you can put in time of sale. In the notes, you can put in a 30% drop in value in 12 months. Now, how do I know that? I've done my research already via the HPI tool or by looking at Market Watch and making the adjustments as per the 2 slides, either increase in price or drop in price. And most of us know that the values have dropped in price in the last 12 months. And so how much has $999,000 and $999,000 dropped in 12 months? 30%. Pretty straightforward, right? It's $70,000. So we have a minus $70,000 in here. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. It's a minus $300,000. My mistake. 30% of $1 million is $300,000. Big, big adjustment. And you can see my list price after adjustment is now $699,999. Going to save that. You can see what's changed here now between this one and this one is that this one here now has a little asterisk beside it, right here beside the last 9. I hope you can all see that. Has a little asterisk beside it. It means that it is the adjusted value. Okay. So you do have to be very careful. Okay. So we happen to know that it's the same square footage because it's right beside them. It's the 2 same houses. We know exactly what it is. Okay. The next one we have is 57 Knight Street. And in 57 Knight Street, we can put down older. We know this because we've done our research. Older unit has a finished basement and is 400 square feet smaller than the subject property. edits and adjustments. So once again, is there something here for square footage? The answer is no. So it's custom again. We can type in square footage, or smaller, property, whatever you want to write. And we can put in 400 square feet smaller. Oh, it's a bit repetitive what I'm doing here, but I'm just trying to move this along. And so 400 square feet at $200 a square feet is $80,000. We are now making it, we have to make the comparable equal to the subject property. So we're adding this in. So we're adding $80,000 into here. We have a basement. The basement, this is a finished basement. Where the subject property did not have a finished basement. So we're going to minus, say 25,000. And we have a list price after adjustments of 700,000, and we're going to save that. Now you can see once again, we have the asterisks here and the asterisks here. So how did I know what those adjusted values were? First of all, let's talk about the finished basement. A finished basement, if we had the statistics button from Trev, which we assume we were not going to have, you can do the statistics to try to find comparables amongst the same property type. How did I add 25,000? Well, there's a couple of ways. You might know a contractor. Ask a contractor how much it is to finish a basement. Not hard to do. Most of them will have a pretty good idea. The other thing you can do is just like I mentioned for the garage a little while ago. The other thing you can do is go to Home Depot, talk to one of their associates. How much does it cost to finish a basement? How much does it cost to finish a garage? It's often at Home Depot, they've got plans with prices, no problem at all. I don't really want to say this one, but you could also call for the basement. You could call a basement renovation company and say something like, just thinking about it right now, roughly how much does it cost to finish a basement? And maybe you'll get an answer out of somebody. Talk to an associate, talk to another realtor, talk to a homeowner that's finished their basement themselves. There's lots of ways to figure this out. It's not a guess. The rough rule of thumb, a very general rule of thumb to get you into the ballpark, is the cost of materials. If the cost of materials, for example, to finish a washroom is $10,000, what most contractors do as a rough rule of thumb is they double the material cost to come up with a final value to finish the washroom. So in this example, 10,000 and 10,000, it would cost $20,000 to do this. So there's other ways to figure this out. You just have to talk to people to figure it out, okay? It's not rocket science. It's not really, really difficult. If you have so many adjustments because of the different qualities and finishes and things like that, perhaps you should look for a better comparable property. And perhaps you can find a similar house in a different location, and you only have to adjust for the location instead of 5 or 10 different things that you're trying to renovate or add on or take away, all of that kind of stuff. So try to keep it simple, okay? The last one here, 43 Ruth Van Crescent, remarks, 400 square feet smaller. And we're going to add the field. There is no field for square footage. Square footage and 400 square feet. And once again, we're going to add in $80,000 to this one here. This one here also has a much less desirable interior because it's being tenanted for the last 15 years. And so we're just going to type something like finish quality. And we're going to just put poor. And we're just going to add in just another 20,000 just for the heck of it. And we're going to save that. Okay. And so here we have our adjusted values now. All three have the little asterisks beside it. And we now have adjusted values. Okay. So the next thing that you do when you've done your adjustments is we're going to take a look at the preview. And in the preview, you can see the price estimate shows 0, yay. And since it didn't have a listing, it doesn't have any of this stuff here. It would be filled in if you had a listing. And it has the map, it has your price, it has your adjusted price. And in Realm, it doesn't do what Treb does. In Realm, what it does is it adds these up and gives you the average, where on this one here, we don't have that. So you have to do this manually yourself, which sounds a little crazy, but we've got 700,000, 700,000, and 811,000, and divided by 3. Oops. So the average sale price is 737,000. You have to do that math yourself. Okay. It also has price per square foot, price versus days on market. It's just crazy stuff. The listing average, like, don't understand why this is on here, because it shows the $0, yay, because it wasn't listed, 2 and 3, and it gives you an average of 552. Like, it just makes no sense at all. And I'll show you how to get rid of this. It then gives you the adjustments and notes, which are really important for sure. Okay. And demographics, if you had demographics, if it was listed, you'd have demographics for this, but we don't have information for this filter. So I'm just going to go back here, go back to the CMA, right? And now we can put in the list price, 737,000. Okay. And we're going to go to contents up here. And these are the different contents that are in your Realm CMA that we just looked at. And what you want to do here is you want to get rid of price comparison. Probably you want to get rid of demographics if it was there, and get rid of the footer as well because it's so repetitive. And now let's have a look at what this is going to look like now. So now we have the price estimate, 737,000. We have the map, which is really good. We have the adjusted prices. We have the data that we wanted. And we got rid of the crazy graph that we had with that triangle. And we got rid of any demographics that might be in there. All it's doing is picking up the demographics right out of GeoWarehouse if it was a listed property. So let's go back here now. Okay. And I'm going to look at my comparables. And I'm going to just, for a moment here, delete all comparables. Yes, I want to delete them all. So I'm going to show you a different way. We're at the same place now. We're at subject property. We got to get rid of the price. Okay. And we're going to go back to comparables. And in here, you have suggested comparables. Suggested comparables are comparables that Realm picks for you. And when you click on suggested comparables, would you like to add 25 comparables to the CMA or replace? I could have just replaced the 3 that were there, but this is a new, I'm pretending this is a new CMA, and you can simply add 25 comparables. Now, you can see here the problem with this. The problem with this is we are looking at a townhouse, okay? And what have they done here? They have added in a single family detached home. They have added in a commercial. They've added in another commercial. They've added in a single family detached home. So if you use this feature, you've got to be so careful that you're actually going to compare to the subject property. And that is not by using these homes. These are all single family detached homes. Why would we be using these homes? And this is definitely a fault of Realm that they do this. And I want to point this out so that you can see that, let's just have a look here. They don't have any of the comparables that I used. Okay, this is what Top CMA does. If you use Top CMA, you pay money, they do give you 25 comparables. How did these guys ever come up with these comparables when we are doing a townhouse? So once again, I'm just going to do all of this, right? This is the suggested comparables list. Now you could certainly try it. You could certainly try the suggested comparables list. No question about that in case you know nothing. But you'd go through this list here and you'd go, well, wait a second. None of these are townhouses. Okay. These ones here, by the way, that don't have pictures, they are listed in the registry offers as sold, but probably were not on the MLS system. So the ones that are have pictures are all on the MLS system. But Realm's system of suggesting comparables is really, really, really poor. The better way to do this is delete all comparables just to get rid of them all. I want to show you that not very nice feature. And so the best way possible is to do your homework and find your best comparables, enter it either by address or by the listing numbers, just like we did before, and then you do your adjustments from there. A weakness in the system is that you have to add up your adjusted values to be able to come up with an average sale price, and then you can share it with your clients from there. So that is the end of the presentation. I hope that was helpful for you for the Realm CMA. I want to go back now into Realm. I want to go back here into the 9 dots, and I want to just show you here training webinar. When you click on the training webinar, it takes you right into the webinar topics. Here you go. And there is doing a CMA in Realm. It's land registry, Realm study hall, which is a general question and answer period, using Realm on your mobile device, getting started with Realm. I recommend you watch all of them as we go along. That's it. I hope everybody has a great day. Practice, practice, practice your CMA to make it look great. And all the best. Take care now.
Thank you so much for watching. If you like our video, please hit the like button, the subscribe, and even the little bell to get notifications, just so you can stay in touch and watch more of these great videos.